The second is measuring whether those goals are being met. And the third is rewarding success and tackling failure. Those are three relatively simple ideas. What's interesting is that Latin America has made some real progress on the first and second of these goals, but has made very little progress on the third of those. And as we will see, the third of those is the most politically difficult, politically charged component. So let's start with the first, setting clear and ambitious goals. The idea here is that if we don't know, if we don't specify the level that we want schools to perform at, it's unlikely they're going to reach that level. If they don't know what level they're supposed to get to, if they don't know what they're supposed to produce, they don't have a clear vision of that, then it's hard to hold them responsible for not having done it. So you really need to do that. And one way to do that is to set expectations. One way to set those expectations is to adopt standards for schools, typically learning standards. And they serve as a framework that sets out what we expect from our school system. The second is measuring whether the goals are being met. Now again, if you don't assess the performance of schools, you have no way of knowing whether they're reaching the goals you've set for them. So it's fundamental to do that. You can't just set the goals, you have to measure. You have to determine whether those goals are being met. And the most common way of doing this is through student achievement tests. Very straightforward. These test scores tell us to see, allow us to see how far we are from meeting our goals and how fast we are improving. And student achievement tests, because the fundamental idea of education is learning something. And once you determine what it is you want the kids to learn, you measure whether they're learning it. The third component is rewarding success and tackling failure. If we don't reward those who achieve the goals, and we let others get away with not achieving the goals, then it's likely that few people will try to reach these goals. You have to have a proper incentive system. You have to, some people are so idealistic that they're going to achieve high goals no matter what happens. And probably everybody in this room is like that, right? Except maybe me. I kind of need a few incentives to do my very, very best. I'm not 100% idealistic. And I think a lot of people are like me. You need a push, you need a pull, you need something to make sure that you get those goals achieved. There are at least 4 ways to assure that schools face consequences for their performance. Quality contracts, community participation, school choice, and teacher management. And another point, if we are going to hold schools responsible for results, we need to make sure they have what they need to achieve those results. And basically those are 2 things. One is authority. They have to be able to make decisions that are relevant, and they need to have capacity. They need to have the capacity to do what they're supposed to be doing. Okay, let's look quickly at Latin America. How far have we come? You look at this first component, setting clear and ambitious expectations. Some countries have begun to do this in Latin America. Argentina, Chile, Colombia, Honduras, and a few other countries have made progress in designing learning standards. A few states in Mexico, Brazil. This is a new initiative which is beginning to get some traction in Latin America. Countries are beginning to do it. However, no country in Latin America has yet gone the full route. They has yet established, disseminated, and fully implemented comprehensive national standards in education. And those that have adopted some standards still need to make them more specific, need to align them with the curriculum and their achievement tests. There's work to be done in every single country. So we don't have a sort of perfect model out there in Latin America yet. If we move to the second component, measuring whether the goals are being met, most Latin American countries assess their students although not their teachers, for the most part only their students. And most of them still lack robust information systems. Virtually every country in Latin America has national student achievement tests, but many of them don't use them very well. They don't disseminate the results very effectively. They don't disaggregate scores by student or even by school in many cases. They don't tie the results to rewards or sanctions, and they don't really use the results very much for policy decisions. Only a few countries have begun to evaluate teacher performance. Colombia, Chile, Peru, El Salvador are interesting cases. There are some others that are popping up over the past few months. And very few countries have national or regional statistics systems that are complete, up-to-date, and reliable. So overall in Latin America, we still lack a good deal of the information that we need to properly measure whether our goals are being met. There's a lot to be done here. And increasingly, countries are participating in regional and international tests. And I want to quickly show a few charts here. The first has to do with national evaluation systems, and it shows all the countries of Latin America, not the English-speaking Caribbean, and whether they have them. As you can see, all of them except Venezuela have national evaluation systems. They vary quite a bit about how they distribute the results, what the lowest level of analysis is, and whether there are consequences for results. And of course, the answer in most countries is no, there are not consequences. The second chart has to do with participation in international student achievement tests. And we've listed four there. They're the four principal ones: TIMSS, PREAL, PISA, and GESE, which is a Latin America-specific test organized by UNESCO's Latin American office in Santiago. So you'll see in these global tests, TIMSS, PREAL, and PISA, only a few countries in Latin America have participated, although that participation is growing. And in the Latin America-wide test, GESE, which has been administered twice over 10 years, in this most recent case, just about every country in Latin America participated. I think one exception was Venezuela, and there may have been another one, but almost all the countries did participate. Let me say that so far as I know, Jamaica has not participated in a global student achievement test. Please check me if I'm wrong on that. But I have no knowledge, at least, that Jamaica has ever participated. It would be interesting for Jamaica to ask itself why that's the case and whether, in fact, it ought to begin to participate in some of these tests.